How you doing, friends, neighbors, whoever might be watching this? Okay, so today the Nationals are playing the Reds, and this year looks to be really great for the Nats. So I'm going to be a bandwagon fan, and also my other favorite team is the Tampa Bay Rays, and they're also supposed to have a really good season this year. So here's to baseball, even though I don't really follow it. All right, something new for these weekly rants. I'm going to have this beer. And instead of going on for like 20 minutes, when I'm done with this beer, the rant's over. Okay, so it's kind of like it's kind of like a watch, basically. That's what I'm using this for. Okay, so today, I was watching some YouTube videos because that's what I do, and like everybody else, and I came across a really cool video by Crisis YT. He's a Black Ops 2 commentator, video game YouTube type stuff, and he was giving his advice on how to be a good commentator. So of course I'm like, I'm a really bad commentator. I'm a really bad YouTuber. I should probably watch this video and get some tips. So I did, and he offered some really interesting tips. Now you can also search his video and watch it yourself. But hey, if you're already watching this, I'll just save you the time. In it, he talks about good quality. Bam, I don't have that. I don't have good HD. I don't have an HD camera. I'm not going to get a capture card. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. So that one's out. Here, I'll just shorten it for you. Basically, he said you have to be energetic, and then you need to be personable. You need to bring personality. Okay, so you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that YouTube isn't like television or movies. It's actually more like reading a book. You know, unless you're in kindergarten, no one reads books to you. You read a book by yourself. And if it's a good book, then you tell your friends about it, and then they'll read it, and then you talk about it afterward. Kind of like YouTube videos. You don't generally sit around in a big group and watch a YouTube video together, unless I guess you're at work. You're like, hey, come over, check this out. But you know what? We're so damn fat and lazy in this country. We usually just send the link, and then text them, did you watch it? And the person could be sitting, a couple cubicles over. I mean, come on. It's probably what you're doing right now. Hopefully, and if you are, there's nothing wrong with that. So it's personable, right? I mean, you do it by yourself. Television, you sit around with your family or your friends. You don't it's like drinking. You do television, movies, drinking and stuff with a group of people. You don't like to do it by yourself. Or like game night, like you want to play Xbox with other people. When they came out with Live and you could play with other people over the internet, you're still by yourself, but you're playing with other people. It's like, it's kind of fun rather than playing the game by yourself. Yeah, I'm kind of drifting off here, but so back to YouTube. YouTube is a one-on-one kind of medium, like a book. So last week's video blog, I talked about writing and knowing your audience. And so it got me thinking, yes, when you're writing, you have to think about the one reader who's reading your work. You can't think about, even if you're Stephen King or Dean Koontz, these people, they sell tons of copies, and it doesn't even matter what kind of crap they're writing about. When they go down to write, they can't think about all the millions of people that are going to be reading it. You're not writing for an audience of millions. You're writing for an audience of one, because only one person is going to be reading it at a time. Or, yeah, anyway. YouTube's kind of the same way. When you're making a video, you're not making it for hundreds of people. I'm not talking to an audience, a stadium filled with people right now. I'm talking to you, and I like you, and hopefully you like me. So I was thinking that's what I need to do, be more personable. So I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. As I get older, and I'm 37 by the way, so I'm kind of too old to be doing this. But it's whatever. But as I get older, I'm more and more afraid of heights. I don't know why. It started back whenever I was in the Marine Corps. I know you would think the obvious thing. It's like, well, there's a lot of situations where you're high up, but it wasn't. It wasn't like jumping out of the back of a of a CH-46, into the water. Jumping in a boat. When I was covering Division Recon and they were doing helocasting, like that wasn't scary. Fast roping, spy rigging, those sorts of things. That wasn't scary for some reason. But when I was on stationed on ship on the USS Peleliu back in 1999. Which, by the way, this glass is from the Marine Corps Ball, November 5th, 1999. I wasn't there. My wife was there, and she brought me back this glass because I was on the USS Peleliu during this time. Anyway, I'm on the USS Peleliu. It's an amphib, and it looks like it's basically like an aircraft carrier, but it's much smaller because it doesn't have fixed wing aircraft outside of Harriers, which are vertical, lift, take off, that kind of stuff. Anyway, it's just smaller. It's a helicopter landing pad. Okay, enough with the useless information. Anyway, you would go up onto the flight deck in non-flight hours, and you could run up there. It was more enjoyable than running on the treadmill. When you're doing your running and you're running 6 miles on a treadmill, staring at a wall right in front of your face, like, it kind of gets boring. So basically, yeah, you'd go up to the flight deck and you run. Now, it never bothered me before, but then the more I was up there, and you would run around the edge, I'd get to the edge, and they have netting so you don't fall off, but I would just start getting more and more afraid, like a big gust of wind was going to come along and just blow me off the ship, and I'd be in the water. It was just an irrational fear that set in, and once it set in, it didn't go away. And it only got worse. It got to the point where if I get near a ledge of any kind, I kind of, do this. I can't. And it's not even that I'm afraid of heights. I'm not afraid of getting on a plane. I'm not afraid of those things. It's the ledges. I'm afraid of the ledges. Even if I see somebody else standing on a ledge, like in a movie, and they run to the edge and they stop, and you get the dust particles kind of, and the rocks kind of fall, you always have that, and you hear the sound, like, that scares me. Well, probably the director knew that, and that's why he's putting that in there, but the ledges scare the shit out of me. Also, bees. I'm afraid of bees. I don't know why, and I've been stung by them, so I know it's not going to kill me, but I think it goes, whenever I was a kid, my dad took me fishing, and we're fishing in a little John boat, and I had to take a leak, and so we pull up onto a bank, and I'm walking out there, to go whiz on a tree or something, and then my dad comes running at me, and he like picks me up, and he's like, just like a madman, like, we got to get out of here. And apparently there was a swarm of wasps or bees or hornets or something that buzzes and stings. And he like picked me up and took me like into this other area, and he stopped, and he's like brushing him off his face, and he's allergic to bee stings or whatever it is that those bees have that can hurt people. And they fucked his face up. I mean, he had to go to the hospital, and like he almost died, and his face was all like mangled and stuff. And I'm just afraid of bees now. Like, I'm afraid of bees because I remember as a kid I used to track like the killer bee migration. They've been in the United States for years now, but I mean, I remember being a kid and thinking like when they get into Texas and New Mexico, like we're all dead. Like killer bees are just gonna take over and kill everybody. It wasn't as bad as I guess everybody thought about, but like that scares the shit out of me. It's something I think about. So that's a little bit about me. Those are my fears. What do you need to know about me? Basically, I like to be on the side that's wrong or the side that's perceived to be wrong. So it means that if you're having a conversation or discussion, I'm always going to play devil's advocate and go like the opposite route. Be like, well, have you ever thought about it this way, right? And I know I'm going to be in the minority. I know everybody else is going to already have, they're going to go with the group think, right? And they're all going to be right and feel good about it. But for some reason, I can't do that. It's like it's almost, to me, it's like, somebody else is already covering that, Like, it's like hip hop music is cool, right? Like, yeah, I mean, that's, everybody says that. We're the most, well, let's not go that, because you have different camps, people like country music, and they got like hard rock and all that kind of stuff. But it's like saying, I don't know, kittens are cute, Like, that's already covered. That's boring. Let's talk about why kittens are evil. Like, no one's talking about that. Let me do that. But then if I get enough people on my side and thinking the way I think, it's time to pivot, because now there's just too many people thinking that way, and I don't like that. So I'm always on the side that's perceived to be wrong. Which is kind of strange, because I do try to make good arguments, but I guess it's that you don't have to agree with me, It's like I want to have a conversation with you so that you can tell me about what you think, and I'll tell you about how I think, and we're not really going to change each other's minds, but at least we'll learn a little bit more about the way the other side thinks. That's what I like. Yeah, anyway. And if you know me, if I had spent any time with me, then you'd probably figure that out, because I like to play devil's advocate, that's for sure. So what else? There's Crisis, YT, I talked about him. knowing your audience and get to know each other. Um, what else? Because I still have about half a beer's left. Well, that's kind of how the blog is going. So Gamers on Tap, the blog, that's kind of how that is rolling out. I'm just trying to bring a different voice or talking about different topics that aren't really covered in other areas or presented in a different manner. Because making the same crap that everybody's making is boring. It's just I don't know. I just don't like it. It's boring. I'd rather do something different. And I don't care if it's popular. Actually, I just want to do something different because I'm really just hoping. I just have this deep belief down inside that that's what other people are looking for. I mean, yes, we want news. I want to find out what's relevant and what's coming up. But there's so many places to get news. The internet's full of that. What the internet's actually not full of is like good discussions. That's what the internet's not full of. It's not that it doesn't have that, but it hides in places like TED Talks. You can watch those on YouTube, and those are fascinating. I love those on any topic. My daughter was watching ASAP Science. I still have yet to do it, but it's like this weird fun fact type stuff. Like she was telling me, she says, "Hey Dad, did you know that one sip of beer contains all the essential elements to sustain life, and that at any given moment, 1% of the Earth's population is drunk?" It's like, no, I didn't know that, but it does make sense. Those are interesting things. You're watching a YouTube video and it provides you something to discuss, to talk about, to engage other people in the world. Which, going back to, that's what reading a book does, even if it's a novel. It presents an idea that you take inside and you rattle it around your head for a little while and you think about it, and then you want to go discuss it with people. You want to discuss the themes and the ideas. I don't want to watch a YouTube video of a cat, licking milk and I don't know, doing or babies, farting. It's funny, but I'm not going to discuss that with anybody. It's not enriching my life in any way. Not that this is enriching your life. I just want to be a conversation. That's all it is. I just want to be a conversation. Even though I don't really like other people and I don't like talking to people in real life, this is my way of connecting with you now. Like there's a safe barrier. I'm inside your computer right now, and that makes me feel safe. I suppose. So yeah, TED Talks is amazing. I love sites like that. I just love sites that are going to give you something to think about and talk about. And in the gaming world, there aren't a lot of them. There are a lot of forums out there, but it's always the same topics. It's nauseating. I just don't. I've grown tired of it. I've just grown tired of it. So I'm just more interested now in having conversations with people about the things that you like. What else? What else do I like? I love steak. God, I love steak. I don't know how vegetarians do it. I really don't. How do you live without steak in your life? Right? Red meat? I mean, I just see the red meat before it's even cooked and I want to eat it. Like I don't even want it to be on the fire that long. Like, yes, put it on the fire because society says so, but otherwise just give it to me. Oh, you know what? Which brings up another thing about me. All right, so I don't mind animal blood and guts. I'm not a person. I'm not sadistic. I don't like killing animals for the sake of killing it. But I grew up hunting and fishing and those sorts of things, and I don't mind killing animals. And I think they're there for us to consume and use. Okay. I don't look at them as people or having souls or those things. Even though I know it's true that they are capable of metacognition, which is basically like knowing that you're thinking. Right. So some animals are capable of doing that. Some would say that means that anyway, let's not get into that. I'm sure that's what vegetarians and vegans believe. Well, not believe it. That's actually true. You don't have to believe it. But look, I don't care. Animal blood, chop off a freaking cow's head. I don't care. But people, I can't stand human blood. Oh my gosh, I hate hospitals. I'm so afraid of hospitals. And here's the thing about hospitals. This is what I think about every time I walk in one. This is where a lot of people die. People are afraid of like cemeteries. Those people are already dead. They didn't die there. Their bodies were like transported there. Their bodies were washed and cleaned up and put in a nice suit in a nice pretty box, and then all their family and friends were there, and it had this silent party where everybody just stood around looking nice and leaving flowers. Like a cemetery is not scary, right? Nobody died there. Hospitals are freaking horror shows. there's people in rooms getting their organs taken out, and they have saws and knives, and doctors are cutting into people. It's freaking madness in there, and people die. People die, and then in one room, someone's dying, or on one floor, someone's dying, their chest is cut open, there's blood, and then another one, a person's giving birth? It's like, oh my god, this is insane. You're having babies in the same physical, geographical location that people are dying, that old people have diseases. You know, it's like, oh yeah, this floor is wardened off or whatever, you know, to keep the disease in here. But it's like, but they're all in the same fucking building, right? Like, come on, man. Have the surgeries like in a building far away, or have the babies being born in a building far away. But come on, oh my god, hospitals scare the shit out of me. And doctors, I think, are like the fucking most craziest people on the planet. Sorry, Curry Hero, Kunal. I know you're in med school and everything, but my god, you guys are fucking nuts, okay? Like, you actually have gone to school and you spent your entire life studying so that you can put your hands inside of another human being. That's disgusting. And I don't mean like in a, you know, get your minds out of the gutter, people, but I mean like cutting their chest cavity open and sticking your hand in there and pulling out their heart. You know? Like, this isn't Temple of Doom and Indiana Jones. That shit's gross, man. Oh, and then people say, oh, it's science, and wouldn't you want a doctor to save your life? Like, fucking no! You know? Actually, no. Like, don't. Like, if I'm sick and I'm dying right now, like, I don't even want to know. Don't tell me. Like, what? So then I can, like, think about it when I'm going to bed at night and have trouble sleeping and then be worried about it, and then have to go to the doctor and take medicine and do a bunch of other shit that I don't want to do. Fuck that. Just let me live my life. And then if all of a sudden I fucking die of a heart attack, well, so be it. I'll be dead. Who cares after that, right? Which brings up something else. When people ask you hypothetical questions about what life is going to be like after you're dead, that's a dumb kind of question, right? You're already dead. Like, I can't, it doesn't matter if I want to imagine or think about stuff, you know, like where my kids are going to be, or my wife's going to remarry or whatever. I mean, who cares? I'm dead. I have no more thoughts. I don't exist anymore. Unless some of the other religions are true and I'm reincarnated like in the form of a bee or something, and then I'm attacking somebody's face. That would be ironic, wouldn't it? Actually, that would be like a good science fiction story, wouldn't it? Right? Like, I am a newly converted, is it Hindu or Buddhist that believe in reincarnation? I can't remember. I'm not a religious studies person. But yeah, and then you like come back is like the thing that you're afraid of. Like if Indiana Jones died and he came back to life, and then his next life he was a snake. Like, that would be, right? That's fucking crazy. Or maybe that is how it works. Maybe I'm like the reincarnation of like some animal that was killed, and now that I'm the person killing the animal. Like I'm Bambi. Like in my previous life I was Bambi. Not the stripper that works down by the airport, but like the Disney character. All right, well, I'm almost done here. That was a good conversation we had. So hopefully now that you know a little bit more about me. I don't know anything about you. You got to actually like leave a comment in the little boxes below, and then I can learn about you, and then we can become friends, and that would be cool. I'm actually going to do a better job of reading the comments and getting to know people. I'm really active on Twitter, but not as much on here, and I think I want to change that just because this is just you and me. You know, we're just talking and hanging out. All right. That's it for me. I'll talk to you next week. Later.